We have a great almost hour for you guys today. How you guys doing, man?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Hello, is this on? Oh, yeah, I'm good.
So welcome to Virginia. Yeah, is this your guys' first time here?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's mine. And I love it.
Yeah, so first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever give them a Virginia welcome.
Yeah.
Time difference is a little, it's a little different from California, 3 hours different. So yeah, you wake up, it's a little rough, and then you go outside and I don't know. It's not too bad here. I mean, I was in Milwaukee like a couple weeks ago.
Oh my God.
It's my hometown, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Milwaukee?
yeah.
Man, it was cold up there.
Pretty chilly there this
It's
time of
3
year.
degrees. It was really cold.
That's
and
why
so,
I moved to Cali.
Yeah, I know. But then you come here and I'm like, oh, you know what? This isn't too bad. It's like 45 or 50 years. I don't know. It's not that cold, but compared to Milwaukee. But I mean, compared to California, everything is
At least it's
freezing.
consistent. In Dallas, it's just like it's 3 degrees, and then 1 minute is like 75.
That's
It's
true. That
90.
is very
That's
true.
107. And it's crazy.
So this is your second. Everyone's here for this is your second day.
Yeah.
Second
Yes.
day.
Second day.
Second day.
Cool.
How many people? This is your second day here at GalaxyCon. How many people? This is your first day here at GalaxyCon. Oh.
Whoa.
If you guys chose to
Immersion.
spend your morning with us, we couldn't be more thankful.
Thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Zach, tell me, how did you first start in voice acting? Obviously, you've done anime as well as video games, but how did you get your initial start?
Yeah, so, well, I guess for acting, I was a California kid, born and raised. My mom decided, hey, I want my kid to be an actor, so she'd drive me up to Hollywood. She'd call up my school and say, oh, yeah, Zach is out sick, he's dying, he's got the flu or something. And then she'd call up my agent a second later and be all like, all right, how many auditions we getting Zach booked for? We got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And she's like, going through, figuring out all the times and everything. She drove me up. I booked some things. I did a lot of print work as a kid. I did a few commercials, and then I kind of got out of it because my mom saw that I wasn't really enjoying it. Like, at that age, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I kind of wanted to be around my friends. And then fast forward later on, I found voiceover. I love Kingdom Hearts 2. It's one of my favorite video games. So, yeah, that really inspired me to pursue voice acting specifically. So I took some voiceover classes. And all while doing that, I ended up entering a competition at Anime Expo in 2014. And so it's like a voice acting competition. I ended up winning the competition, and ever since then, things have kind of snowballed, working with directors and the same people, and just like getting these opportunities to audition for some of these huge video games, whatnot. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gabe, how did you get started?
Sophomore year in high school, it's kind of, we were in class and our teacher was like, okay, they're pick each student to read or whatever. And I was listening to everybody else reading, and I was like, man, they're reading so boring. It's just terrible. I was like, I'm just gonna try to make this as epic as I can. And so it was biology, so how epic can you make biology? And I was like, the organism was, and I just kind of doing it that way. And my teacher was like, what you should really think about doing, like, announcing, like for the school announcements. And I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And I went home, I looked up announcing, and a video came up that changed my life and the trajectory of my life and what I'm doing now. Like, it was called $1 Million Voices, and it was a video of Don LaFontaine, who is this huge movie trailer guy, I mean, if you know, and other voice actors who are in the business, and this is what they do for a living. And I saw that, and it blew my mind. I was like, this is what I want to do. And so from my sophomore year, on up, that's what I was chasing after. And I won some competitions here and there, and then went to school, studied music, but at the same time doing some side gigs for VO. Made a voiceover demo and sent it to an agency that I was looking at for about 8 years. I was like, I got to get in there. I got to get in there. All my favorites are in there. And so I'm sitting at the restaurant with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we're sitting there in IHOP, and I'm like, I just haven't heard anything yet. I don't know if they heard my demo and everything. It's like, and my wife's just like, calm down. It's going to be okay. You're going to get signed. Watch. You're just over. You're blowing. I was like, I don't know. I think the demo was trash. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a New York number. Oh, how? And I pick up. He's like, hey, Gabe, this is Atlas Talent, and we just wanted to sign you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And, it's my senior year of college, and so this was kind of a big deal. And so from there, I just started kind of auditioning and working on games and animation projects and trailers and stuff.
Now, you have a great deep voice. Did you have that in your sophomore year of high school?
No.
No.
It was that, so epic to me was kind of like in a world, it's kind of, after a while you get older and, it starts to deepen and and everything starts to hit and everything. So, yeah, no, after a while you start to learn how to play with the voice a little bit, get some range there, but yeah, didn't always have it.
Greg, you've done a myriad of things. You've done live acting, voice acting, producing, writing. You've done it all. But how did you get involved into voice acting yourself?
Well, voice acting for me, I started off in radio as a comedy writer for a guy named Tom Joyner. He had a radio show. You know Tom, yeah, Fly Jock, man, Tom Joyner. And, being a comedy writer and producer, we would write sketches and stuff like that. So we would do, like, celebrities and stuff like that, and celebrity impressions. There people like Bill Cosby and James Brown and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of got my foot wet as far as as far as doing the voice thing. But then prior to that, I was a stand-up comic, so I would do the various impressions of celebrities in my act anyway. So, and one gig I had that was really memorable, it was for Coca-Cola. They flew me to Chicago where they were doing a Pepsi parody. At the time, it was Ray Charles, who was a really, had the big Pepsi parody. You got the right one, baby. That was right. And after I did that, was a really great gig. They made me up to look like Ray Charles, and I did that. And then I came back to L.A., and I was looking for a commercial agent. And on the strength of that gig, I got a great commercial agent, Abrams Artists, and they were just starting their voiceover division at the time. So I signed up for commercial representation on camera and voiceover. Never booked an on-camera commercial in my life, but the first booking I ever did was for a voiceover gig. It was a radio spot for Modell Sporting Goods and on the East Coast, and from that, the ball just went rolling, man. I mean, that's how I got it and started out doing it, yeah.
Do you guys remember the first time that you saw either a commercial, you saw your face, or you heard your voice on a show or something? Do you guys remember, like, not necessarily during production, but like at home? Do you remember that first time?
I remember hearing my voice on a radio spot, and it freaked me out. Because I'm like, wait, I just did that. I'm like, whoa, I was sitting in my car, actually, and the radio came. And I mean, that was an incredible feeling, actually, to hear that the first time. I can imagine that must be like when people see themselves for the first time on television or film. I've done that as well. But the hearing yourself while you're in your car, that's kind of a surreal experience, You
just roll down the windows, turn it up.
Yes, hey, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first gigs I did in 2017 was promo for the show The Four on Fox, and that was my first kind of like thing. And so I'm sitting there watching TV, and then The Four on Fox, and I'm like, ooh, babe, that was me. She's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I was like, no, that was me. Like, that's my voice. Like, it's already gone. But that was the biggest, like, it's unreal. Like, and I don't think it ever gets old. I think every time you hear it, you're just like, that's me, man. I'm promoting a huge brand, and my voice, it's insane.
Yeah, I used to do commercials for Pandora Radio, so that was one of the first things I heard. I think me doing like an advertisement for Target or something for Pandora, and recently I did a commercial on TV. I was visiting some of my family in Vegas, and I was over at their house. And we're just talking, and they have like the Sci-Fi Channel on or something. And one of the commercials I did came on TV for Palm Wonderful, like this pomegranate drink. And I saw it, and I just like flipped out. I'm like, oh my commercial's on! Holy crap! I was like, guys, it's me. And then they're like, wait, let's rewind it. And then they rewinded it, and I recorded it with my phone. And I was like, nah, I'll probably never see this on TV again. Like, what are the odds? On that specific channel, it's not. And then I saw it again when I got home too, and I was like, oh my God, it's me.
Did you wait on that residual check?
Oh, yeah.
That's what makes it all worthwhile.
That's it.
So what makes video games different from anime? Like, what makes them, do you either one like them better or worse, or the same, or is it like tougher because you have to, I think maybe more sound effects because you don't, there's different scenarios, so there might be more lines as opposed to just straight dialogue.
For me, I always feel like working on an anime, there's always a huge emphasis on matching the Japanese. It's always like, you know, very much mimic. And if you do think of something you can do performance-wise that's different from the Japanese, oh wait, it doesn't fit the mouth flap. Sorry, you can't do that. So I don't know. I think for video games, a lot of the games I've worked on, heck, sometimes they don't even play the Japanese reference for me. I just go in and I do the game, and they're like, yeah, like he sounds pretty good, and you kind of make the character from scratch. Like you do your own thing. You can take pauses sometimes if the lines aren't like timed. But other than that, I mean, I just really enjoy doing that process and having that creative freedom to really like play around with the character and twist it in my own way. And then, I don't know, maybe the Japanese version, if it is like a JRPG, maybe they do play it sometimes for me, and it's completely different than what I thought of. But I'm really happy with what we're doing. So I don't know. I'd love to have that freedom, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. On the anime, I mean, I love doing the anime stuff. It is great. But I do sometimes feel like there's so many ideas I want to do, like so many things I want to, like breaths I want to take here, lifts and stuff, but you really don't have that luxury because of, you're trying to match it. So I always feel that with video games, I mean, they're always looking for a grounded performance. It's very cinematic, a lot of them. There's a lot of the AAA titles are very just like, we want to feel like this character is alive and breathing and walking amongst us. So that's what I love about it, is I get to take my time. Breaths, I get to, emphasize this word. Versus, once you hear that beep for the anime, beep, 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 you have to go and match that and try your best to emote everything you're saying in that time frame, which is not the easiest thing to do.
I haven't really done much anime, so I haven't been restricted in that way. I can imagine what you guys have to go, because it sounds a lot like when you go in and do looping. That's basically what it is. Yeah. I've done looping, so I know that restriction where you got to be right on the money and all that sort of stuff. Most of the games that I've done, I can go in and they let you go for it. You can really emote. You get direction, of course, but you're not restricted by trying to match a certain mouth flap, as you guys call it, or everything like that. So you can pretty much do what you do. And I like working like that a lot better, because you can bring your own little textures to the character, yeah.
Again, we do have a microphone, so if you'd like to start forming a line. What advice would you guys give to somebody who wants to get into acting, into voice acting, into video games, stuff like that? What kind of advice?
My first advice is to learn how to act. Period. That's the first thing you have to learn how to do, because there's tons of people with amazing voices, great resonant sounding, beautiful voices, or high-pitched little squeaky voices that sound cartoonish. But at the end of the day, it's all acting. It really is. So take acting lessons. And from there, you can pretty much, do whatever you want to do. But just remember, it's all acting at the end of the day.
That's so true. I say this all the time. I mean, you can have 88 keyboard, the best of the best. But if you don't know how to play that, it does not matter. And so I tell that people all the time. They're just like, I don't have an amazing, I don't have an interesting voice. I'm like, use that to your advantage, my lord. I get auditions all the time saying, we don't want announcer. We don't want, you sounding like a character. We just want you. Oof. Wow. My entire life I've been learning to be like this super character right here. I mean, super dark right here. And I get to just be me? I mean, what? It's amazing. And one person that's really amazing at doing that, at being real, Yuri Lowenthal. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's incredible. He's somebody I look up to. He's able to just kind of here's my voice, and this is it. So that's what I use. Yeah, acting is important.
Yeah, I would say, in terms of course, acting is the most important thing, but in terms of actually getting into the industry, I think it's important to realize that everybody has a different path, and no path that somebody else has taken will be your direct path. I mean, if you told me that I would have ended up taking a bunch of acting classes and voice acting classes and meeting all these people, and then ultimately getting pushed into, actually, I don't know if she even knows this, but Erica Lindbeck was the one who she pushed me into the voice acting competition line at Anime Expo. She's like, "Come on, we're gonna do it." I'm like, "No, the studio already knows who I am. They're not gonna." She's like, "Come on, let's just do it for fun." And life-changing moment. So you'll never know when that opportunity hits, but stay persistent and be ready and keep training, and for when you get that golden opportunity.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Trace.
Hi, Trace. You have a question?
Yeah. So if you get a role nowadays, do you freak out like you did when you got your first role?
Good question.
I think it depends on what it is. For me personally, I'm always happy for job security. So of course I'm always happy whenever I get a role. But if it's something I know or something that I'm a fan of, then I'll really flip out. I mean, recently I got cast in like this awesome video game, and I just like completely freaked out when I found out what it was, because everything, is code named and you don't know what you're doing. And then I go in and they tell me like, oh yeah, you're actually the main character in this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what? And then they're like, yeah, you just can't talk about it for like 2 years. No worries, just, don't talk. So I'm not talking about it right now technically, so yeah.
I'm pretty old and jaded, so I don't get freaked out about anything anymore. I just want to get paid. I'm just joking.
Best answer.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I do with anything. I mean, there was just one thing I just got a call about yesterday, and obviously you don't know what the name of it is, but then you go in there and they're just like, so this is the character, and I'm like, what? I'm doing what? And so I'm always just like, it's another day to kind of, be someone else, that I've been admiring and stuff. So it's amazing. I always get super cheery.
Hello.
Hello. My question is for Zach specifically. When Byleth first got announced for Smash Brothers, what was your first initial reaction to that?
I was like, heck yeah, woo, I'm in Smash. And then I go read the comments online. We don't want you.
That made, that made me so sad, because Byleth...
I mean, like it was so funny because I actually received a lot of overwhelming support online. Like people are like, it's okay, Zach. Like people thought I was really hurt about it or something. I was like, no, guys, it's fine. Like I get it. But I'm no matter what, I'm gonna be here. Like I'm gonna be here in the corner, like doing the Irish jig. I'm like, yeah, I'm in Smash Brothers. Haha.
Yeah, it made me upset that people were like not excited about Byleth, because Byleth is one of my favorite characters in Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Well, thank you. I'm glad. So you were excited for Byleth.
Yes.
Right on.
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
I felt that because my timeline was full with Zach, and I felt that excitement over here. So I don't know what they talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi. How are you able to find like a good variety in your voice? Like, how do you figure out how to voice a certain character? Or like, I can't do a deep voice very well, but I can do a high voice well. But I kind of want to voice a character that might have a deep voice. So how do you manage that kind of thing?
Do the deep voice. That is how.
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I think it's something that you just kind of. For me, I mean, I didn't have this when I first started, and I don't know if it was necessarily just like an age thing. But of course, like number one is always focus on the acting. It's just kind of like, maybe you won't do like super deep voice or like big muscly guys or like, these bandit kind of characters. But if you do focus on acting, you actually might find like a lot of joy in doing a different kind of character. But in terms of like range specifically, I think it's just something for me that I kind of developed. I didn't always have it. I do every single time before my sessions. I always do singing exercises, vocal warm-ups. I do all the lip runs, lip trills, and eventually I ended up just kind of like developing this lower texture to my voice. And after working on some characters and even probably kind of like straining my throat because I wasn't doing it properly when I first figured it out, I just kind of like, I found it. I don't know what about you guys?
Same thing. I did the kind of experimenting, and I think singing helps with that too. If whatever reason, if you can sing, it helps out kind of figure out where I need to be vocally. Yeah. And so when I got into movie trailers specifically, I was like 23, 24. I mean, you're going up against guys who just have massive voices. I mean, turn on the TV and you'll hear them. And so I always had to like listen to them and try to match that. And so in a world, read PG-13. It's kind
gotta like keep growing it, growing. And after a time, you start to build that range, like you were saying. And so, yeah, I think that's what helped me anyway.
Yeah.
I think the character sometimes informs what your voice has to be like as well. You know, you look at the drawings or whatever and how the character looks. You know, if it's a scrawny guy, you obviously don't want to give him a deep voice. But if it's, you know, a big guy, you know, it just depends. But the more you do it, you know, you'll find your way as far as like what you're able to do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hey, if you could voice any character like in the world, even if it's already been voiced, who would you pick?
Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto, easily. But if I come to think about it, if I took on that role, I would have probably been like 6 years old when that was being done. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Yuri Lowenthal, so he's a big inspiration to me.
Oh, man. It would have to be between Static Shock and Black Panther in the Marvel series, man. I would like to be T'Challa if I can. I'm also African, so I can probably do it, but we'll see.
You just stole my answer, man. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Black Panther, right? And they have to cast a black guy to do it. So yeah, man. You know, I'm a little old school, and I would love to do Bugs Bunny if I had to do it all over again, man. That is like my idol is Mel Blanc. I mean, he's one of the guys that I look up to as the consummate voiceover actor, and he did two characters that I absolutely am fanatic about. And that's Bugs and Foghorn Leghorn. Boy, I say boy. Those are my favorites.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. So I wanted to ask, because voice acting, you don't need to actually be on camera. So how often are you doing like remote, remote recordings, and like what is it like a requirement to be in LA or New York to like actually get good gigs or?
Not anymore. I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah.
With technology, you can be anywhere, man. You can actually record on your phone. You guys ever do that? Record the iPhone things, you know? It's not like it was. And that's the beautiful thing about voice acting, man. It's because you don't really take yourself out of the game. You're not restricted anymore, you know? Prior to coming here, my theatrical agent called me for an audition for a show for HBO where they wanted me on tape, right as I was getting ready almost to get on the plane. So, you know, I couldn't do it because they wanted it that day. But if it was a voiceover gig, I could have probably done it, you know, on my phone. And so, yeah, it's just a beautiful thing about it. And also, when you go in, you don't have to worry about how you look. It's just like, you know, you can do what you do. And sometimes I have my setup. I'm quite sure you guys have your setup at homes as well. You can record from your homes. You don't have to go about, back when I started, we would have to go to my agent's office and take the time out. And it was just it's a hassle, but it's not like that now. I think technology has made it a lot more efficient, man.
I agree. And then, you know, obviously mocap is different, is a different beast. Like, you got to kind of be there. And now, it's funny, you said that, you know, do you have to be on screen? It's, on the video game side of things, I'm starting to see a lot of the mocap auditions come in and like, hey, we want you, you know, we just want to see your likeness, or send in an audition from your iPhone or whatever, just so we can see what you look like and stuff, just so we can match it. But as far as like anything else, like I'm starting to do a lot of remote stuff from the house, and or if I'm in New York working and I'm like I can't get to LA, is there any way? Oh, we'll book you a studio out there. You know, they starting to make some adjustments. Back in the day, it wasn't like that, but now it is.
Yeah, man, mocap auditions are it's so cinematic. Like, I've just been treating my mocap auditions like on-camera auditions, you know? I just go in and they have like a cameraman and stuff, and sometimes too, like if it's not a self-tape or if it's like a callback, I'll go in, they'll have a cameraman and like a whole backdrop and say, all right,
Do
man.
you do a lot of that? Do you guys do a lot of mocap stuff?
I did one.
Yeah,
because
one thing
I
so
gotta
far.
tell you, I'm really, really leery about that sort of thing, because once they have your image, whether they hire you or not, they got you, man. They got you on computer, and they can use you, and you will never even know it.
I know.
And you may never get paid. So that's something to think about.
With the CG, the like all their technology, it's freaky. Didn't
all right,
you
guys,
hear?
so you hear that? You know, the mocap, watch out for the mocaps. Seriously. Don't screw yourselves.
And I guess, and to answer your question, in terms of anime, I would say if you want to be in anime, you have to live in LA, Texas, and then I think they do a little bit of that stuff out in New York. And the reason is just because like they like to have, I think, everybody recorded on like the same setup. I know sometimes like in LA they'll patch in people to record for Texas shows and vice versa, but so anime specifically, probably you need to live there. In terms of like other voiceover things like commercials, I mean, I've probably recorded at least a few hundred commercials from my home studio, and just, you know, I send them off a few takes, or we record over Skype or Source Connect, and yeah. So I guess it depends on what you're like working on and what you're looking to do specifically as well.
Thank you. So there's possibly clips out there of your voices in these games or commercials that you were in your PJs when they were recorded.
Several.
Yeah, a lot.
Or you can be buck naked. Not that I've ever done that. I'm good.
Oh, yeah.
Get the most organic take.
Right.
The most natural sounding.
Hello.
So yeah, I'm an indie game developer, and I'm curious how much it would cost to hire a voice actor for like maybe for 50 lines or so.
A lot. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn your game union, and then we're gonna and then we're all gonna make bank. That's pretty much it.
So probably out of my budget.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's individual, but I'm sure if I were to, man, my agents would probably have me by the throat if I was like, hey, I'm just doing this thing, don't worry about it, I got it. They'd be
I'm a
like,
whore for hire. How much you offer? Just me and you, we can talk. Come on.
let's be backstage, yeah.
Talk later on.
Thank you. Oh, we got a little roadblock going on there. Hello.
Yeah, I'm not talking with that thing on. It's too hard. Okay, this is a question for all of you guys, if you don't mind. I'm someone who's a narrator and voice actor on YouTube, and I was just wondering if at any point in your guys' careers, have you ever actually done anything voice acting or narration related on YouTube or for audiobooks or anything of the sort?
I do narration quite a bit. Did some stuff, did a 10-episode series for the Travel Channel called In Search of Monsters. And it was, I love narration. Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's great, make a great living as well. But it's long, Think, about 4 hours times 10, and you're not including revisions on an episode. Like there've been times where we've gotten to episode 6, and I'm like, wow. And then they're just like, oh, we have to do episode 2 all over again. And then you back that 4 hours, So it's you got to really have some stamina vocally to do it.
I relate to that so much, actually.
Yeah, so right?
Oh, yeah, it's a struggle.
I did a documentary once, and it was a very long session, actually. Yeah, it's called something about evolution. I don't even remember what it was. It was just boring as hell.
Oh, no.
But, I plowed my way through it. And so.
I don't think I've really done a lot of narration, so I can't relate, no.
It's out there, though.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
I'm kind of glad you mentioned narration. My question was sort of in line with that, but I've changed it now. So, what is your favorite home setup for mics?
Sennheiser 416. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what that is. It's a boom mic, like they hold like in like movies and stuff. It's super directional, and it's a great cuts through, especially for like trailers and promos. And
is it like a shotgun?
Yeah, it's a shotgun mic. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I have such a dumb story. I went through TSA once with that freaking microphone. What's in there? Oh, it's a shotgun. Oh, shh.
Sir, please step this way.
Yeah, please step this way.
I get stopped by almost every time. Like I can't get through for some reason, man. Anyway, yeah, that's my.
All right. How about the rest of you?
I got some Radio Shack stuff. I don't know. Whatever works for me. I really have to get my technology game up as far as that, because I really work out on my computer. I have a Cool Edit Pro. You guys have Cool Edit Pro. And the mic that I got is pretty efficient. My friend set it up for me. I don't know what it is, man. You know, I just use it.
Always nice to have somebody to rely on.
Yeah, you know, and this dude is like the technological genius, so he hooked me up. So, and I mean, I live in a place where the acoustics, fortunately for me, is really good and it's quiet. I don't hear traffic noise. Now and then you hear the occasional plane and all that stuff going over. But no, I've been pretty lucky in that respect.
I use so I guess a good starter mic for me when I started out was a Rode NT1A. I used the NT1A, and I had a Shure SM7B, but what nobody told me back then is that it actually requires a lot of gain and power. Like even using a cloud lifter, I was still getting some weird static hiss on like the low end of the microphone. I just couldn't get it off unless I would cut the frequency. So I really like the Shure. I really like the Shure SM7B. I don't know if I'd recommend it as like a good all-around mic, but what I currently use is I have a Neumann TLM 103. I love that little microphone. I use it for just about everything, for video game auditions, commercials, and stuff. But to get that really cool boomy sound and stuff, I love the Sennheiser 416. I also have one of those. There have been a few video games that I'll pull it out, or a few video game reads that require like really intimate, sort of like where you're talking like this, you know, and like it's like a really serious kind of thing, and I'll pull it out and it'll capture all that, and yeah, I love it. Of course, all these microphones are like the 416 is $1,000. The Neumann TLM 103 is like $1,100. And then if you add on the shock mount, it's $1,300.
But I think the Rode NT1 is like a great. If you don't want to go TLM, you can make it sound kind of like the TLM.
Yeah.
If you know,
EQ, compression. Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Great questions, by the way, guys.
Hello.
Hello. My question's for Gabe. I just want to know what it was like to work on Borderlands.
Oh man, Borderlands was fun, man. I got to be Digby Vermouth. That was great. I got to sing songs and everything. Y'all loved. Oh man, that game was insane. I got to sing, which I'm a singer first. Got to sing. I got to just really play, have fun with this jazz musician. I'm a big jazz head too, so like it worked out. It worked out. I love that game, and I can get people sending me clips of Digby singing and stuff, and it's the best. It's literally the best. Loved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were waiting for that question, huh?
Oh man, love Digby.
Hello.
Hello. My question is, how stressful was your first audition, and as you went on, did it get like less stressful or stayed the same?
Let's see. Well, I guess in terms of voiceover, one of the first auditions I had, I mean, I've never shared this story before. So one of the first, I had like a general audition, right, where they just brought me in and had me do a bunch of stuff to see what I could do. I remember throwing up outside before the audition. I was really nervous, but I don't know if it was just that. I think I was actually like kind of sick. I don't know. I might have had some bad fish or something the night before. Who knows? But I don't know. I was really nervous because it was something I really wanted, and I really wanted to do this and voiceover and all that. And I knew that it was kind of like Mom spaghetti. Like this is your one shot. Like don't mess it up. So yeah.
Yes, I was nervous. My first audition. I mean, you're always just like, I think I sent like 100 takes on one file to my agent, just because I wanted to make sure I got all the things. And I go back to listen to that, and I gave the same take, the same read. I'm like, I didn't do anything different. Anyway, but yeah, it had honestly, as time progresses, it has gotten easier for me. It's some games and certain things, you're just like, oh, this is gonna be life-changing. Let me do this right, But I think the method of audition, forget, is beautiful because when they call you that you booked it, you're just like, I auditioned for that? I didn't even know. So it's like a gift out of the sky. So.
The first actual booking that I had when I got an agent, I wasn't really all that nervous because I knew what they wanted specifically. They wanted a fat black guy, so I had to sound like a fat black guy. I had it halfway down, so I just had to put the girth in my. So I did like a Fat Albert, that kind of thing, and I wound up booking it. So yeah, so that was easy actually.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello.
Holy crud. First thing, I'm like super fans of like all of you, and I want to thank you for all you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for all of you. Are there any specific like voice warm-ups you guys do, or like singing warm-ups, or any of that sort?
Yes.
I do the lip trills. Not easy. Actually, also extends range as well. So just keep that in mind. Do some research on that. Extend some range. That's what my favorite one to do every morning.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Sometimes I do like the goo, 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 goo. And so like making the g sound, actually, it helps keep your vocal cords connected as you go up through your bridges. So yes, it's like that g, g. It makes sure you stay connected. So that's one of my favorites, of course, on top of the lip trill. That's a really good one too. That is the main one to do if I'm gonna do a session, like especially early in the morning. That is you do the lip trills, and if you can't do it too, sometimes you can do this as well. You put your fingers right here, go, and you can go up and down through your range. But I do it on a scale. You know, I have a tape that I play, and like it goes. And it keeps going up, up, down, down, and, you know, all that stuff.
I need to talk to you guys. I just try to make sure I don't have dry mouth, you know. Good thing to do is to eat an apple, like a nice, crisp, green Granny Smith. That'll get all that phlegm, especially if it's an early morning session. Because when you wake up, you know, you get the morning mouth and stuff like that. And so just try to eat a nice, crisp apple. It'll just wake your mouth up and keep your palate nice and fresh so you don't have to, you know. That's a good thing to do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that every morning? Like this morning, do you get up and you do exercises?
To be honest with you, this morning, no. But like,
Well, that's what this is for.
Yeah.
No. Get
it out now.
Right
Some days require a little bit of that because, you know, the auditions that come in the mornings for video games and stuff, and I don't want to sound super down here, you know, the entire time. That's what happens in the morning, so.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. So you mentioned, of course, there's a lot of acting that comes with voice acting, and that made me really think about really emotional and like kind of guttural scenes that you guys might have to do. So I'm curious, do you pull from the character and the writing to bring out those types of like maybe like crying or screaming scenes, or do you pull from your own experiences to bring that impact for your characters?
You know, I pull from my own experience a lot too, because the thing about it, a lot of people don't understand is when you're doing games in particular, you're pretty much in the booth by yourself. You're not acting with anyone. So you really have to dig deep into whatever you're bringing to the table to get whatever it is you got to get across, no matter what emotion it is. So yeah, it's important just to try to be faithful to the character, but at the same time, depending on what that emotion that is within that scene, you really have to like dig deep into yourself in order to bring it out. And that's where the acting does come into place, because if you're trained, you can learn how to do that. But see, I'm a natural schizophrenic, so it came by me easy. You know, I can just go in there and just have fun with it. But yeah, you know, because you're not interacting. It's different. Like I do cartoons as well. And when you do an animation cartoons, so even sometimes when you're doing animation, you're in the booth by yourself, you know? So it's, that's an important thing to remember. You're going to be literally acting with yourself. So you really have to develop those muscles, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. Yeah, that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Thanks so much for coming today. The question I had was, I know that when you guys talk about booking gigs, you will mention, though, my agent booked my gig for me. For someone who doesn't have an agent, what would your advice be for finding an agent and finding the right match for your agent between you and him or her?
Man, forget the agents. Go out and get that stuff yourself, you know? I mean, that's what I did when I first started out. I mean, but I probably wouldn't be booking some of the huge gigs without my agent bringing me those connections. But when I first started, I would go out, I would reach out to indie people. I'd send whoever I could my demo. I made a website and, you know, I linked it everywhere. I made sure I had it in all my email signature, every single email that I sent. Boom, people can click on my website. Boom, go to the website, demos right there. You know what I'm capable of, and like contact me for bookings and just having that thing. But I mean, in terms of getting an agent, I mean, that there's a different path for that. There's a it depends. It's kind of complicated. I mean, the most stereotypical one, I think, would be to make or go have a demo professionally done, professionally produced, and then send out your demo to a list of people, list of agents, you know, try to write a different email for each one and, you know, make it personal and see if anybody bites. They might not. You might actually have to meet the agent in person by taking a class with them. That's what I did for one of my first big agents. Is I found a voiceover class in LA that specific agent was doing after scouring the internet because nobody in LA was telling me where these classes were. So I had to go find it, and I found it, went and took the class with the agent. The agent ended up liking me and ended up signing me within the following week. So I don't know. I think it just depends. I know people who have awesome demos and they send them out to a bunch of agents and they don't get any bites still. So it depends. Maybe the agent's not looking for your specific voice type. Maybe they have someone who sounds just like you already or something just really weird. I don't know. It's a weird world.
Yeah, the submission process is weird. A lot of times, I say this with like, referral seems to be one of the biggest ways to get a hold of certain agents. If you know a voice actor who's on that roster, maybe they may like walk some things in for you. Some may not, and you have to kind of find a way, like you said, find those avenues where maybe they're going to this class or they're teaching this class and you can be in there so they can hear you. One of the things that I did as building to that, I did Voice 123, and I pretty much just like auditioned all day on that site and just kind of got my rep up. And sometimes I would book on stuff and get some little money, and I was tucking that away to make a demo, and I was doing that all the time. And then when I submitted to an agent, I was like, look, I've done this. They're small, but I've done this, you know, so I can come with a little resume.
What they said.
Thank you very much.
The good news is I know an independent game developer.
Ah, yes.
Where you at?
Where'd he go? Oh, I think he's gone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, and to that, the independent game developer, I'm for hire, and I just take donuts. So I want to ask, how do you guys stay motivated? Well, the process, what you say when you're submitting stuff and you don't get any bites or whatnot, especially if it's early on and you're trying to get into this, like how do you keep that motivation to keep doing it and pushing forward and trying to...
Seeing the fans, man. Seeing you guys. That really is inspiring, you know? I mean, I haven't come to a lot. Thank you. Yeah. Give yourselves a round of applause. Come on. How's that for pandering, huh? I don't go to many of these type of things, but it's always good to reach out and see people that you've actually had an impact on in your life. Because when you do this stuff, you really are in a bubble. You're probably in the biggest bubble there is. You know, you're in a little booth with a mic, and you don't realize this stuff is going out all over the universe, man. So when you see how people respond to it, it really makes you want to just up your game even more. So.
I'm also inspired by, like, you know, I'm connected to fellow actors, voice actors, and when I see them booking stuff, that is just so like, oh man, I can do this, you know, and it keeps pushing me to want to get to that, you know, to that level. So that's.
Yeah, I think it's weird, just like this industry, just dealing with rejection because there's so much of it, and sometimes like you'll audition for these super cool things. I mean, I auditioned for these awesome video games and like Disney things and things that I completely know about, but I don't book those things, you know? I don't always book those things. Sometimes I won't get a chance to be on the project, so it's more of like every single audition, I try to treat them all equal, and no matter what it is, and just kind of keep that mindset and be like, you know, if I get to work on any of these projects, then that would be great. And if not, just like keep going, keep doing the auditions, and of course, like Gabe said, just being surrounded by other actors and watching other people succeed, and my friends booking these just huge things. All of a sudden, boom! Oh, I'm the voice of Barbie. Boom! Hey, I'm Spider-Man. Oh, well, like what the heck is happening? You know, I'm like, wow. So this is a real thing. Like this is possible. Like one day that could be me. All it takes is that one audition, and that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, so I'm going to be the bad guy here and let you guys know we have time for one more question here before we have to wrap up. So congratulations, it's you, sir.
So when you're recording on your own through like a booth, whether it be at home or just at a studio stuff, when you don't kind of have the other people to bounce off of, how do you find the proper intensity for some of the scenes that may be like more emotionally charged, and making sure that kind of you have the proper intensity compared to like the other actors or actresses that might be talking for those scenes, to make sure that like you're not too charged up or anything like that? Because if you're doing it on your own.
Yeah. So I know for anime, although we're not together, you can always hear once the beep, after the 3 beeps, you always hear what's happening prior to that. And so that helps give some context as to where you need to be as far energy-wise.
I think he was that even during the audition process. I mean,
you mean during auditioning?
Auditioning at home, right? Is that what was that your question?
Audition, but just like if you're at home, kind of doing the recording, how you said you don't always have to be in the studio or anything, and also a lot of the game recording, like you were saying before, like you're not in a room with other people, so it's just kind of you. So not kind of knowing like what the charges of the scene or anything like that, because if you're just handed the script, like what notes do you have, or just making sure you're at the right like level?
A couple of video games that I've done at home have been directed on Source Connect. So I do have the director telling me, go a little higher, or go, we need some anger here, we need some push here. That's been my experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like when I audition for something and I get a script and whatnot, I mean, I don't always know what they're looking for, to be honest with you. I mean, I just kind of make it all up in my head. I think of the scene, if I know the game, if it's like Halo or Call of Duty or something, I'll look up maybe clips of what they've done in the past on YouTube, and I'll try to listen to what, how far do they go? How far do they go emotionally? Like, what do they do? If you're playing a soldier, are you gonna show all that emotion? Is it gonna be like all like, level 10, like crying, screaming? Probably not. So I think it just really depends on what it is, and if you're fortunate enough to know what the title of the project is that you're working on, if it's like a zombie game, if it's like, or if it's a certain kind of anime, sometimes they'll even specify like, hey, we know that a lot of anime characters talk like this. Well, this is not that anime, and they'll specify that in the sides and say, do not do that because we want cinematic, realistic acting. We just want you to be you. Like treat this like on camera, So sometimes they'll tell you like what you should do, and you just kind of have to take the notes of what you're given. And sometimes you're not given all that information, and you just gotta make it up in your head and boom, shoot a shot in the dark and say a big prayer. And
even in the audition process, sometimes when they send you the script, it's very specifically written about what they want you to do. So you can just, that information is pretty much there. Now, what you do with that information is up to you, but they will tell you what they want and what they don't want. And I always found that interesting too. I always found that very helpful to especially when I'm auditioning at home, and I'm not in the booth with a director or anything like that. They will specify what it is they want, and it's always great when they tell you what they don't want it to sound like. Because you can get that reference already in your head. So, okay, they don't want this guy. They want, okay, I got you, so.
And I would always recommend, first take, do it the way they said. The second take, do you. Do exactly because, and more often, sometimes I get the do you part that books it. It's like, yeah, we just like what you did on the second take, so we'll take it.
Yeah, it's always fun to play around.
Yeah, mold it.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you guys. And thank you, Richmond, for hanging out with us this morning.